Hi, this video is called Who Can Be a Social Worker and Do You Have to Have a Qualification? So it isn't always clear what social work is, and I've spoken about this in another little video clip. But what I want to do here today is make a fairly controversial statement along the lines that anyone can be a social worker. And then I'm going to have to go and defend myself around that because I think for me social work is really the human connection with others in a genuine, meaningful way to the other person that really makes a difference in a big or small way in their life, that helps people feel loved and cared for and able to keep going and work through any challenges in life they may be experiencing. Now, once I start to talk about social work like that, you'll very quickly appreciate that, hey, I do that. I do that with my family. I do that with my friends and neighbour and people I meet in the streets. And it is in fact true, because a lot of what social work is about are human skills, maybe hopefully more refined and more accountable in lots of ways that you wouldn't expect as an everyday person, but actually the same kinds of skills. Things like listening, showing regard and care for somebody, knowing how to stand with someone in a complex situation and work alongside them as they're working through anything that's a concern for them. So now, because I have that really broad sense of anyone can be a social worker when they're acting with good intent and care and regard toward another person, that leaves me a bit challenged when, in fact, the reality is that not everyone can legally call themselves a social worker. So this is where you need a professional qualification that typically is a 4-year undergrad degree. There are other ways of getting that qualification, and you need to be able to say that you could be a member of the professional association to be able to call yourself a social worker. And in Australia, this is the Australian Association of Social Workers, and you don't have to actually buy a membership to be a member, but you do need to be able to say to someone who you might be trying to get a job with that you are eligible to be a member with the Australian Association of Social Workers, and that gives you the right to call yourself a social worker. Now, it might be the case that you've got a job that isn't calling you a social worker. You might get called a case manager or a support worker or all sorts of different titles, a manager, but your actual professional qualification is a social work qualification. It's just that the job you're in at the moment isn't classified as a social work titled position. It will be about doing social work, though. So see, there's the formal legal way that you can call yourself a social worker. And with that comes a range of obligations and responsibilities, as you might expect, because we're often working with people in extremely vulnerable, very threatening and often very life-threatening situations. So we need to be highly skilled around all those human skills I was mentioning at the beginning, and able to take proper responsibility alongside the organisation where we work as part of being legally able to call ourselves a social worker. So there are a few things that go with that maybe as an everyday person seeing how your neighbour is, you wouldn't immediately be aware of your legal responsibilities of being or what you're saying and doing. Okay, so I think anybody who is acting with good intent and kindness toward another person, and actually toward other animals and to nature, to my mind, is being a socially regarding person, someone who cares and is acting toward others with social regard. And a social worker is a legally entitled position, role, language, if you are at least eligible to be a member of the professional association of the country that you are in. Thank you.